Oh yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. You want to do that
Let's
quickly, or
go
do
at it now. Welcome back, guys, to your Grimerica Outlawed Roundup Plus and Free Edition for January 12th, 2025. Already January 12th, 2025. Actually, time does seem to be slowing down a little bit after the holidays for me, it seems like. Maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to say. With active denial and Latino vibes. That sounds fun. That sounds fun. It does. Maybe time would just keep accelerating. But I think if you could just get out of the house more, do stuff, make your brain. I was listening to Chris Williamson talking about how if you force your brain to make new memories,
Oh yeah. Well, that's why traveling is so addicted to people, right?
to do new things, it really slows down
Yeah.
time.
Because you have to be present when you're traveling, right? So when you travel, like everything's new, everything's fresh. So yeah.
And memorable. I think that's part about it. If your life is too routine, it just like all disappears on you.
Wow, interesting.
And our shit is a shit show all the time, so we don't have to worry about that around here. Yeah, it's always something.
Today, trying to narrow down what to talk about. I mean, there's so much going on. Again, it's crazy. It's like a little overwhelming. I'm like, because I just have to slow down my brain and everything to try and capture some relevant stuff here.
Yeah, you can almost just make a new account for something that just follows certain stuff.
Why do you say that?
Well, because the main accounts that you use all the time just inevitably get drug into stuff that you get sick of, by definition. And the stuff that just catches you that you just don't want to talk. I mean, right now it's just obviously a lot of politics.
Yeah,
I mean, where I am, it's a political shit show right now.
yeah.
And I have somehow ended up in the middle of it. So,
Well, I mean, we should talk about that at the beginning here, I guess, right?
sure.
I mean, when did you read that? Was it the last roundup where you read that open letter?
It was a week ago and it was
What,
already,
already? What?
yeah, and it was already going viral. Was that a week ago? Must have been a week ago, right? Yeah, because I wrote another article since that letter
Yeah.
and then another letter.
So Darren's talking about an open letter to the Cree Nation, the First Nations in Alberta, and
That
and
continues to
then
go
that
viral.
went really viral, like really viral. Darren's been and getting involved maybe in some of that stuff, and we'll see
I'm
what
still
happens.
getting texts today from people. Um,
It's
like, hey, you're famous.
it's weird because I came across it in the wild. We call it the wild, where it's like just on my X account. I see other people posting Darren's letter, and that's like kind of a sign because we don't usually get that kind of attention or attraction. So it's interesting, interesting to see it. John's mentioning in the chat, cool if he throws some suggestions in here. Yeah, you can, but it's hard once we get going to pay attention to the chat. So we'll try, but yeah, don't get butthurt or offended if we can't do it, or if we.
I didn't even know until I came across it in the wild. I was just like strolling along and I was like, it was already the one that they had chopped up with AI. Like someone put it on some fucking
Letterhead or
piece
something.
of parchment and some graphic, and they clearly got AI to do it, and it screwed up some words. Like, I mean, if you really dig into that thing, there's some typos in there and some words that don't even look like words.
Was it otherwise? Was it the same? That's kind of scary.
Otherwise, it was the same. It was just the AI. No, it wasn't the same. I mean, that's the other thing is that they did editorialize it a little bit. It seems like the main now what I think has happened is that one place editorialized it the first time, and then
And you don't know who did that?
I think it was Alberta Independence Facebook group or whatever. I think because the line that got left out is some of the more. It could be viewed as inflammatory, but it wasn't really because I said when I called their Facebook post a pathetic attempt at relevance, as if it counts as consent, is kind of a shot at manufacturing consent that I think just went over everybody's head except for Dan Friday. Dan Friday's the only one that picked it up as a shot at manufacturing consent. So on the new letter that I wrote to the Indians, I just put manufacturing consent in there because but they kind of cut out that part of it. I think that's the only part they cut out, and the rest was intact. So they just
So
cut
what did
out.
you mean by that? Like you meant by like engineered virality or whatever, or like how? What do you
No,
mean?
because it just makes it. It seems like it's consent from. It seems like all of those indigenous people on his reserve think the same as he does now.
Oh, I
They're
see. Okay.
manufacturing the consent of the entire
Of the
indigenous
bands or the
community.
tribes.
Exactly.
Okay.
But I haven't. I mean, I've actually that's not true. I've had a couple Indians freaking out, but for the most part, I've had a ton of indigenous people that support it.
Yeah, I saw on X it was overwhelmingly good comments. I mean, I don't know if they're hiding the bad ones from me or something. If I get to see all the comments, but
Well, I
okay,
found both
okay,
like
get your bum out of the camera.
in the wild, like posted by people sort of in defiance of me or mocking me, or like Ian says in the chats, calling me a pretendian, or I mean, the one guy got into it. He had posted it, and I'm just trying to ignore the comments now because there's thousands of them at this point, and it's just a bad scene to get into it. You know, it's a pretty bad scene to get into it. But I did
Like
stumble across some posts that have like, 800 or 1,000 likes on it, where someone's posted it calling me a fake Indian or this or that, or I mean, the one dude went to the trouble of finding my book someplace, probably on Amazon,
yeah,
took a screenshot of my face out of it,
yeah.
and made a post about that saying he's from Red Lake and he's not from the reserve and this and that. With no mention that the fucking book that he stole the picture from was on Indigenous rights.
Not
So
well, not only that, but you never said you were from a reserve. I mean, this
I
is the
didn't.
thing, right? You
I
just
never
said
said
you're a
that.
treaty Indian. You just see it. So like they didn't. That's what I saw.
So
I
part
didn't
of the
see any.
problem is some people ran with it, dude. And I found posts that said I was from Sturgeon Lake Reserve, and I was just like, man, I never said that. I've never once said that. I just said I'm a treaty Indian, Alberta.
Yeah, I didn't see any good legitimate pushback at all. Did you see any comments that were
No, no,
legitimately
no
pushing?
legitimate pushback. It's all just personal attacks. It's all just personal attacks. And I commented on a couple of them just because there was a couple that had a lot of views. Like I forget what this. I'm not going to give them any publicity anyway. But there was this one like leftist news thing that had my face and the letter and calling me a white supremacist or this or that or a fake Indian. So I just sort of post my resume underneath it. I was like, hey man, how many books have you written for Indigenous rights? Because I've written fucking 3, I've written 50 articles, and if anything, it's just cost me money and
Well,
fucking personal thing. It's not like I'm making any money for any of that shit. You know what I mean? It's a fucking passion project.
interestingly, the books you wrote, the two main ones there that you first wrote were like they support kind of more of the leftist narrative in a lot of ways. Like you weren't calling out chiefs or anything in those books. You were like questioning the residential schools and the stuff that as since then has gotten way out of control because of the lies and the corruption that's being exposed.
None of that shit's in my books.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I posted all that shit, and they did. And the news place I even posted. I see that you cropped that picture from my fucking book and posted it on your site without whatever. I called him a scumbag and moved on. And then I got it into with this Russ Diabo guy from Kyle's Reserve. That sort of turned into the same thing, but I don't think the comment section went the way that he wanted it to, and he blocked me. So I was like, hey man, you can say whatever you want. You can
This
yell
on
at me.
Facebook or
This was on Twitter. I was like, you can yell at me, you can call me a fake Indian, you can do whatever the fuck you want because you're a fucking boomer and you're on the way out and we're on the way up and we fucking had enough. So maybe it's not this time. It might not be this year that Alberta gets to separate and happens, but either way, the tide is turning. The tide is turning over the next decade, and the political power is coming to us. And fucking, we've got an overwhelming more people think like me than think like Russ. So it's just like, whatever, Russ. Enjoy your last few years of relevance.
it's going to be interesting because it's going to get very nasty coming from the east and the left to Alberta and anybody in the separatists and the glaring thing that I'm blown away by is none of them are just like looking at why this is happening. What have we been doing for the last 10 or 15 years to make a whole bunch of people want to leave Canada? Like, there's no awareness around it at all. There's no like trying to fix the shit that they've broken here.
Well, the craziest thing is that, that led to like 4 people now emailing or phoning me from the APP or some other
That's
one
the
of the
Alberta Prosperity
that's
Project.
the Alberta Prosperity Project. So I've had 2 or 3 people from them reach out to me, and someone from another group, I forget the name, and then the Alberta Conservative Association wanted me to go to Edmonton this weekend to do a talk. I was like, I'm going fishing, man. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I haven't committed to anything yet, but I am getting into some interesting meetings. It seems like I'm going to get to meet with some pretty interesting people and maybe get to weasel my way into a position to make a difference,
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge opportunity. Like, not just for you, but for Alberta itself to really lead the way in the West here for a responsible country.
Because the interesting thing is the second letter went viral almost instantly.
Really?
Yeah, like it was already I published it late at night, and then by the next morning, it was already published on a couple pages. It's still sort of slowly making its rounds. I don't expect that one to be as viral because it's meant for Alberta's Indigenous population. It's not calling Chiefs out. It's a direct shot to them, but it was already blowing up when I stopped looking at it, which makes me wonder what the next one's going to do. So I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to transition into, I don't know, maybe because I'm going to have to put something together if I decide to do one of these talks. I'm not just going to wing it. And I've got endless amounts of content, if I just sort of compartmentalize it. I've got some, and I've gained a lot of skills in talking and storytelling just from doing the podcast and from the events is a big part of it too, because the events is actually getting up in front of people and talking and winging it, working on name recall and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm gonna probably end up doing 1 or 2 and we'll see how it fits. I don't know. I still don't know what to do, really, what to parlay it into, what the best sort of direction to take to ride this thing is. But I want to go meet some people. Like, it seems like an opportunity to meet Wrath and maybe some other people that I've been following for a while already, because that was the interesting thing, is people that I follow shared it. Party Marty up north, a few people like that are spitting it out on our side. So I don't know, we'll see what happens. Do a couple bucks, I guess.
It's fascinating timing because the split, which is, to me, this is like left or far left, and everybody else, it seems like, on the other side, which just gets lumped into kind of the right, which is everybody in the center, everybody to the right of the left. It's just like blowing up right now. I mean, there's just basically civil war seems to be happening, and in the same time Alberta wants to separate, and the same time Trump is pushing his fortress doctrine. It's super fascinating time right now.
Yeah, my wife is nervous.
Yeah,
about how to handle it.
From a personal perspective of how you handle this, or how in general?
I think just in general.
Yeah.
Not about me personally. She'll support whatever I want to go do, but just about the exposure and it's all a little bit close to home. We've blown up on other stuff before, but we blow up like globally, sort of, and we could have stuff that gets 100,000 views and still nobody I know ever sees it.
Yeah.
But now it's like I'm getting texts from everybody I know that lives in Alberta, and I'd imagine soon to be outside of Alberta, because it seems like it's just a matter of time now till the sun's up hitting the mainstream.
I was thinking about that too. I'm like, is there a point when we have to stop, like, just not communicating necessarily, but like branding wise? Like, I mean, it's gonna get. I have some predictions, kind of, that things are gonna still ramp up and escalate. I mean, the NGO industrial complex is not gonna let this cancellation go. They're gonna.
How do we spin this up into an NGO?
What?
How do we spin this up into an NGO?
It's too late. We lost the
We missed it.
timing on that. We missed that NGO racket.
Back to
It's all coming apart, man. I mean, I've got some stuff on this.
Well, that's part of the thing, right? It's an interesting time to get involved in it, where it could just go from being this little letter that's blowing up around here, which is sort of big enough, to like having my fucking face all over the fucking world. You know, like Alberta's sort of at the forefront. This Alberta separation.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Is at the front of the fucking world right now. And it's like, even Daniel Smith, like when would the premier of a fucking province ever have any notoriety in the world, right? But now it's like the whole world would recognize her if she walked into most restaurants. And I don't want the fucking whole world to recognize me if I walk into any place ever.
And the problem is that it can't help but be tied to Trump and what's happening in the States, because it's going to be tied to it. It's not, even though it's not tied to it, they're going to tie it to it. So that brings a whole nother element of risk into it for you or anybody else that is part of this movement, that have to have thick skin. It's going to be attacked like hard. It's already being attacked hard, but it's going to get worse. So
yeah,
prepare.
We'll see what happens.
I don't mean prepare in a bad way. Just, it's more of like also just detaching from it a little bit too, and not following it so much. And
yeah, you just gotta not follow it. Just throw it out there and see what happens. But I mean, it's the shorts world now, and I got kids, so my kids are gonna see my face, and what's it gonna say underneath it? Here we go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because they can dig up some dirt too. I mean, this is
They should. We should have just kept talking about ancient mysteries
UFOs
in this mess. All right, so where do you want to start? I thought I had. I do have. I think at least one Canada thing. I thought I might have had two, but now I can't find the other. Why don't you go first?
Okay, can I just kick it off by reading some posts that I've been sort of saving that really sort of talk about what's happening right now? So I'm just going to read a couple posts, but then I've got some NGO complex type stuff, and I can get into some of that stuff. This is from Paul Weston here. I'm going to just zoom in a little bit here. I passed the tipping point about the only realistic way of halting civilizational collapse several years ago. Watching the current behavior of the criminal left in America, Canada, Australia, France, Germany, Britain, NATO, EU only reinforces my view. America is the most interesting country at the moment. What is happening is surreal. A mass tipping point must surely happen there soon. The U.S. left in its entirety is being exposed as a violent revolutionary movement. Its leaders wear suits and ties, but they are no less revolutionary than Stalin or Mao. Conservative, reform, Republican parties cannot win against the left because the left is not a political entity anymore. It's a revolutionary entity, and it will assassinate, kill, beat, lie, defraud, propagandize, cheat, steal, and terrorize in order to finalize the revolution. The revolutionary left can only be defeated by the counter-revolutionary right. I sense a tipping point realization of this is not very far away in 2026. When it breaks, the left will reap what they have sown. It's kind of not really hard to argue against that, because we're going to see this NGO thing. Like, what I keep coming back to is like, and I'm not supporting Trump in any of this. I'm not supporting anybody, but just asking questions. What do you do if there's a web of a whole industry built on destroying your country, using your own tax dollars, funneling your own tax dollars through these NGOs and charities, and they're destroying you from the inside? I mean, what do you do when that happens? And it's connected to Canada and Europe and the UK and the globalists have their paws everywhere. And Canada's like that. You're going to see, like, this is all connected. I mean, did you see that thing about Freeland? She was like in Russia in a student exchange way back when. Now she's, in leaving for Ukraine. I mean, it gets deep, right? Carney goes to China right when this whole thing goes down, making deals with one of the guys who crossed the floor, I think. I mean, it's you can't make this stuff up. The timing of all this stuff. So this one,
like the next election now.
The next one, the dissolution. This is from Tony Segura. The contact is broken. The republic is memory. The signal remains. So this is kind of going about the just how broken the system is and about against both parties. EKO. I don't know who that is. Republican Congress holds both chambers and does nothing. No subpoenas, no hearings, no investigations. The conservative influencers who should be screaming about a coordinated coup attempt instead chase smaller game, run interference, attack each other, send you down rabbit holes, and offer limited hangouts that lead nowhere. The silence is bipartisan. The silence is the tell. If your enemy acts and your ally does nothing despite holding every lever of power, you do not have two sides. Wait, there's more. So that's what is interesting. If your enemy acts and your ally does nothing, despite holding every lever of power, you do not have two sides. Look at the structure itself. 435 representatives for more than 300 million citizens. That's one voice per 700,000 people. The founders envisioned one per 30,000. The ratio was frozen in 1929, locked up by the Permanent Apportionment Act, ensuring the number would remain manageable. Manageable for whom? 100 senators, 535 total legislators controlling the direction of the largest economy in human history. You do not need to purchase a nation. You need to purchase 535 people or fewer. Buy the committee chairs. Fewer still, buy the leadership. A few dozen individuals properly leveraged through money or blackmail. It's actually both. Steer everything. The bottleneck is artificial, engineered for efficient capture. The Fed, the Reserve, arrived in 1913, transferring monetary sovereignty from the people to a private banking cartel. The same year, the 17th Amendment removed state legislators from Senate appointments, severing the balance between federal and state power. The intelligence apparatus emerged after World War II as a parallel government operating beyond electoral accountability. The administrative state metastasized into an unelected fourth branch, writing rules with the force of law. Layer upon layer, each generation inherits chains from contracts they never signed, bound by compromises made long before their birth. So I just love that little summary. And then here's this is what's happening behind the scenes. The Minnesota situation is George Floyd 2.0. Here's what you're not paying attention to because they have distracted with it. Venezuelan Russia tanker being seized again. Russian submarines response. Russian sends final warning to Ukraine. Russia evacuates all Russians from Israel. Many charges against Maduro silently dropped in an effort to cover up the CIA involvement in the drugs. I was wondering how that would come about. China threatened, and I'm not saying all this is true, I'm just giving points of view. China threatened US and UK. China hacked in the government database. China seemingly gearing up to take Taiwan. US green-lighted Israel to attack Lebanon. Iran collapsing. Syria collapsing. Cuba, Colombia, and Greenland are next targets. Israel recognized Somaliland and is building an airbase there and dumping displaced Palestinians there. U.S. gave $8.6 billion to Israel for fighter jets, and Somaliland is perfect striking distance of Yemen. No Epstein files, no arrests. A global conflict is brewing, and the pieces are moving faster on the board than ever. The ones moving the pieces are evil, corrupt pedophiles, but I'm just a conspiracy theorist. So, just to kind of counter some of that, because there is some interesting stuff happening. So look at this picture here.
Is this Jesus's YouTube channel?
No, this is Asmongold. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm really enjoying his content. I always thought the YouTube kept pushing it to me, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch him, and I mean, the guy's on the nose like 90% of the time. He's like on the nose, and he's just willing to say it. He's got like 4 million subscribers, and he just says it. He says it like it is. And what he wants. So this is Trump in front of all the gaggle of press on the right there, right? In the White House. I think it's in the White House. And he's got all these executives around in this U-shaped table here, right? Like there's 30, 40 guys in there and women, executives from, who do you think? Have you seen this?
These are the oil companies telling him to go fuck himself?
What?
Are these oil companies telling him to go fuck himself? We're not interested in going to Venezuela.
Oh my God!
I thought
you haven't seen it?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any of this.
So imagine your press
internet to a certain extent now. You know,
it's just it's just what's that?
I said the internet is a mess for me right now.
Yeah. it's just an example, a funny example of the press, right? So this is, but then I will talk about my theory on this a little bit. So
Who's
the press,
on the table though? Who's all those? Is that
I'll,
like
I'll get into that in a sec. I just want to show a funny example of Trump, like, is going to the press. So he's got all these people out in front of the TV. Like, just here's a bunch of the executives, and here's the press, and here's what they ask him.
First off, can you respond to the manufacturing?
Let's
number?
give CNN a chance. You know, they've been fighting so hard to get back into the mainstream.
Mr. President,
He says CNN's been fighting hard to get back in the mainstream. Let's give him a chance.
you posted some numbers actually on Truth Social last night. People saying you posted the job data early when you're not supposed to obviously share it till the next morning.
Shut up, bitch.
No, I don't
Shut
know.
up,
If they
bitch.
posted them. I said post them whenever you get a chance. I don't know. They gave me some numbers. When people give me things, I post them. But the numbers,
You're not.
So the main thing is just that, you know, he gives CNN a chance to ask a question. There's all these executives from the oil and gas industry and probably other industries as well, having this big meeting about Venezuela and the opportunities in oil. And then they ask that he posted these job numbers overnight, like earlier than he should have. I mean, it's just like, to me, it's the epitome of why the system is so broken, right? The media just fucking around, not doing their job. So he mentions that. I want questions. You're not going to ask any questions for this group of guys that are around here. So he's gathered.
Oh,
So
okay.
we went into Kurdistan.
That's
very
smart.
early.
He's gathered them all, and he goes around the table, and most of them get a chance to ask questions or to say their little two bits. Opens it up to everybody. They say what a wonderful job he's doing and all that. I mean, of course, right? And we're looking forward to moving into Venezuela, going into Venezuela, and we were the first ones to dig there. Oh, we worked there till the 70s, till it was nationalized and it was took over. You know, just basically he agreeing, obviously, and praising Trump for all this stuff. Now, I'm not saying it's good or bad or whatever. I don't really have an opinion on it. My point is that there's a reason why he's got all these people in the room in front of the cameras that have been demonized for what, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, oil and gas, all that stuff, right? He's got these are the main companies, the main players in the whole industry, just signaling that they are back. The climate change grift is over. We're back in business for real and cheap energy again. And I think that we've got proof that I'm not just sort of saying that.
wouldn't that be great if gas was just super cheap? Everything, you know.
It should be. We should have abundant energy. So this is a jaw-dropping announcement. This is from Stand Up for Trump here. But President Trump disclosed that Soros and Hoffman are funding Antifa and the left-wing violence against ICE. Trump vows to launch a RICO investigation into Soros. They're going to have some problems, he says. Now, in this one, he talks about getting rid of the climate change fees for the tractor builders and the people like John Deere and all that, right? He's like, we're going to take away all those climate bullshit regulations so that they can drop prices for everybody. So he's not just saying he's going to do it, but I'm just trying to find my post on this one here. So okay, let me play this then. So I'm gonna play this next clip here. This is I'm going to play the beginning of this.
This is fake old lady.
Promethean action. Yeah. Have you seen her at all?
Yeah, I'm sure. Didn't we have her on last time? We decided she was fake. It's
No,
not really an old
this is
lady.
different. No, this is different.
And this is
Listen to the first bit of this. What?
No, I'm telling you, this is not an old lady. This is not an old lady. Someone's got some sort of AI skin on, pretending to be an old lady.
Oh, I see.
Is Davos ready for Donald Trump?
Maybe. So this is her theory about, or the Promethean update. I mean, and I know they're probably funded by somebody who knows like what kind of agenda or propaganda they have, but she's pretending some interesting stuff.
Is Davos ready for Donald Trump? In less than 2 weeks, the president is going to march his full economic team into the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. You could say he's walking into the lion's den, except that he's the lion. And the globalists know it. Yesterday, the New York Times shrieked that Donald Trump has set himself above international law. They wrote on topic after topic, President Trump made clear he would be the arbiter of any limits to his authority, not international law or treaties. But it's not international law they're worried about. It's their entire globalist system. And that is what Trump was actually telling the New York Times. And that is exactly what he's going to tell the gathered so-called international elite at Davos. He's crippled their dirty money laundromat in the Caribbean with the Venezuelan operation. He's declared war on the economic cartels, and he's withdrawn from 66 international organizations that are used to enforce globalist policies. Now, you're not supposed to know.
I wanted to pause that. The list is pretty massive, all the biggest ones. So he's withdrawn from 66 of these organizations, apparently.
Any of that. You're supposed to be caught up in the play-by-play of the Minnesota ICE shootings, while the Democratic foot soldiers and the controlled media try to spin up their irregular warfare operations here at home. Well, Trump and his team aren't going to let them get away with that. Both J.D. Vance and Scott Bessent made that clear in the past 2 days.
What that headline leaves out is that
Okay, I'm not going to play all of this stuff about the thing, the Minnesota shooter, but what Rubio says is that basically they're dismantling the sprawling architecture of global governance, right? Like it's like no more global governance. We are on our own, like as the Western Hemisphere. So, you know, it's not just like the security strategy document. It's like he's pushing this stuff, right? He's pushing the stuff. He's canceled. I was looking for the list of the 66 organizations.
Canceled things.
Yeah. Anyways, I guess I'll just take a break for now and you can go for a bit. I got some more stuff about some of the stuff that's kind of related, but what are your thoughts on all that?
It's getting weird out there. I mean, it's this. I was looking at a map today where the U.S. map went all the way down through Mexico and had Venezuela in it, like Cuba and all those places too. And at first I was like, that's crazy. And then I was like, well, is it? Is it crazy if that, you know, I'm at the point where I don't know what's going to happen next. I feel like, you know, like all bets are off. It really, I feel like Greenland is going to be, how Greenland plays out is sort of going to be a thing, because in some ways Trump has already accomplished his goal there. It would seem like you could argue, you know, he's already like, because everyone's been, the argument his last time around wasn't that he needed it. It was that somebody needed to patrol this shit. Like nobody's up there. Nobody's doing anything. It's a total free for all. And now all these places are sending ships there, sending boats there. Germany said all these. So it's like, you know, if at the end of the day, all you really care about is that the Northern Passage is being defended because it seems like that's where the ships are going to have to go. Right? Did you know that the Panama Canal was having a huge water problem where they don't really have enough water to keep this thing going? And they're building a huge reservoir right now that they say will keep it viable for at least another 50 years or 70 years or something like that. But the way the water tables, it's sort of dependent on rainwater that looks like they can't rely on as much anymore. So there's like the canal is sort of turning into being hit and miss. It already had to cut down how many boats go through it by 60%.
Here's a conspiracy theory. Do you think that has anything to do with why Trump bought that fusion company? Because they recycle seawater. They desalinate seawater, apparently.
Well, this water,
like the desalinating seawater is a thing.
Water, this isn't drinking water. I mean, technically, maybe you could use, I don't know enough about the system but this is just of how the canal works. Maybe you couldn't use seawater because then you'd have to like flood out all those, because the canal is like canaled out and then it goes into a huge lake and then it's canaled out again, right? So maybe the problem is you just can't dump seawater into that lake or you'll destroy the ecosystem. But the problem is, so maybe desalinating could help, but the problem is just not enough water to put this. So they've already had to cut down how many boats go through this Panama Canal. And so you can see a future where the Panama Canal, so you can see this northern, and then I was looking at a thing that is, so if a boat went from China to New York,
I found it. I can't believe
it's actually 20% closer if it goes up through the Arctic than it is if it goes down through the Panama Canal, which seems kind of counterintuitive to me. But then it also doesn't have to wait 3 or 4 weeks waiting at the Panama Canal, and it doesn't have to pay the $1 million or whatever it is to get through the Panama Canal. So anyway, all that to say that it does seem like, if we go back far enough in time to what Trump was saying way back in the day, it wasn't about needing Greenland. Last time around, it was about needing people to take the Arctic seriously and Greenland defense seriously. So if you can get a bunch of boats there and ships there and stuff like that, and then just be like, you've already won, really.
Well, I think he needs it long term.
Well, that's the other thing, is if they take it, and then do they buy it, or they just take it militarily?
No, he won't. He's gonna. Denmark can't afford to keep it, right? I mean, China's tried to build 3 airports there apparently already.
You could see an instance where it starts to get weird, though, right? Where
Right?
the
you see all
veneer
the-
just slips off, right? And it just turns into like 3 superpowers gobbling up territory.
Yeah.
Because that does seem like a viable outcome at this point, right? Like, you don't want to think it's true. I'm not convinced this is going to happen. But it's on the board, it's on the board.
And here's the thing: if Trump makes this play, does that make China and Russia back off and just go, okay, we give them the Western Hemisphere and we'll take the rest of Eurasia?
I think those deals are already happening behind closed doors.
That's what I mean. So
I
do you think
that's
they'll
why
back?
Europe's freaking out?
What?
That's why Europe is freaking out as much as they are, because they're being left out in the cold to be Russian, I guess, right? Because who's going to get that? Russia or China? Probably Russia. Russia gets Europe.
You know what's weird is in
China,
that security document, he barely mentioned they barely mentioned the UK. Like the UK and Ireland is mentioned in one sentence, I think, from what I read, from what I remember from reading it. So, but they don't say they're going to leave Europe behind. They say they're going to support Europe. They want Europe to stay European, but this is the problem. If they've already kind of passed the tipping point of coming back from all this stuff. I mean, they really have destroyed themselves.
Yeah, there's Ian. I think Ian's hit the nail on the head. Trump has turned the U.S. into an empire. It's Pax Americana, the American empire. It's like Rome turning from a republic into an empire.
Well, it's been an empire, though.
No, well, technically, it's been
got bases all over the world. I mean, this is just more of a.
It's been a republic, and Rome would have had a bunch of military stuff all over the world too. But before they slipped into empire, it's really just a change in how. If he gets the 3rd term, even if he does it the way you did it, if he gets that 3rd term the way you do it, then I would guess that we're past the point of change it.
I'm looking for that thing that showed the flight paths over Greenland, but I mean, I'd like to challenge that a little bit and say, so what was the globalist organizationals that were pushing back again? They were destroying the empire, like destroying the West. So is that not an empire in itself? The WEF, the UN?
No, it wasn't, because if we were an empire, we wouldn't let any of this shit happen.
Yeah.
Arguably, or at least some places would have stood up. It was just a dirty democracy that's been completely.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. That Ian, it's overtly, it's open. Now it's an open empire instead of like closed.
So before we cut to I didn't get to a single clip, but it might be worth reading the new letter here just so it's on YouTube too. What do you think?
Yeah, sure, man. That's a good idea.
I wanted to show you this first, though, because I thought you got a kick out of that, because I've always had this sort of Google cover from this dude in the UK, right? Darren Grimes.
Yeah.
But that's starting to change, because I noticed if you type Darren into Google now, it'll pop up with like Grimes, Alberta after it.
Oh, what?
Which just tells me people have been searching it. So I was like, well, what does that do? I'll just let that autocomplete and see where it takes me. So what do you think it says? What do you think so this just took me to the little Google AI review of who Darren Grimes is. What do you think it says?
He's a podcaster, author.
We got in January 2026, Darren Grimes is prominent in Alberta as an author and podcaster. I don't know if that's true. Particularly known for his advocacy for Alberta independence and his writings on Indigenous history. In early 2026, Grimes published an open letter to Alberta's Indigenous people and a separate letter to the Sturgeon Lake Cree Nation. He argues that Indigenous treaties should not have a veto over Alberta's potential separation. I never said that. Not one time.
Say it again. Say that. Repeat that.
He argues that Indigenous treaties should not have a veto over Alberta's potential separation from Canada and criticizes band leadership. Literary work. He is the author of several books focused on Canadian Indigenous history, including blah, blah, blah. Media presence. He founded and hosted Grand America Show podcast, which he started while working in the steel industry in Calgary. Now, this is where it gets pretty good. Background and identity. Originally from Northern Ontario, he lived in Calgary during his early adulthood and identifies as having Indigenous heritage. His claims of Indigenous identity have been the subject of online debate and scrutiny in January 2026. Other activities. He promotes outdoor activities in Alberta, including guiding hunting. So there's the... oh, look, there's that.
Yeah, there's that one.
There's me. The breakdown. So these guys here, that I wasn't going to give them a shout out, but here they are.
Oh, yeah. I mean, be careful with those guys. Honestly,
So here's where they came out. And
did you hear me?
Be careful with them.
Yeah.
In trouble.
Yeah.
They've come out and said the Treaty Indian they're holding up to attack Sturgeon Creek Nation is from blah, blah, blah. So anyway, they posted my face. And
See, they're like, do you hear how they word that? The Treaty Indian that they're holding up to attack them. Like, fuck off, buddy.
But if you go into the comments, some people, yo, I'm a Treaty Indian from Alberta, and I 100% agree with what was said. So actually, these are some of my friends that found it. So anyway, it's neat to see my face on there, though. But you see, this book they cropped this out of was, I think that's from A Canadian Shame.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So anyway, all right, I'll read the letter, I guess. Might as well just keep the fire going. This one's a little longer. This one's not to leadership. It's just to the Indigenous people. So this is an open letter to Alberta's Indigenous people. Nobody was elected to choose this path for us. Not chiefs, not councils, not organizations, not people issuing statements on social media manufacturing consent. This conversation belongs to the people, and it has never actually happened. Before anyone tries to dismiss this by questioning who I am instead of engaging with what's being said, I'll be clear. I am Indigenous, a member of Mishkegowgaming First Nation, and I'm a registered Indian under the Indian Act of Canada. Indian number, blah, blah, blah. I am from Ontario, and I've lived in Alberta for more than 25 years. I'm not a member of an Alberta band, but I live here, work here, pay taxes here, raise my family here, and my future and my children's and grandchildren's future are tied to this place. The systems being discussed apply to me, as they apply to millions of others, regardless of which side of a provincial line we were born on. Perhaps those questioning my permission to write about these things believe they have done more for Indigenous awareness in Canada than I have. I think not. Awareness is not silence. It is not compliance. It is not policing who is allowed to speak while conditions worsen on the ground. Awareness that never challenges power, never questions outcomes, and never risks discomfort is not awareness at all. It is performance. For what it's worth, I've written 3 books. I've published more than 50 articles that have been read by tens of thousands of people, roughly half of them Indigenous. I've spent years writing, speaking, and arguing about these issues in public, often at personal cost. I didn't ask permission then, and I won't start now. If raising these questions makes people uncomfortable, that discomfort is not the problem, it's the point. And I will say this plainly because it matters. Indigenous people in Ontario will never be presented with the opportunity in front of Alberta's Indigenous people today. The political, economic, and geographic conditions simply do not exist there. What is happening here is not theoretical. It is a moment. And moments either get confronted honestly or they pass quietly and never return. I'm not speaking from theory. The reserve my nation calls home and the reserves I grew up around in Ontario resemble third world conditions. They have for years. They are getting worse every year, not better. Housing rots, infrastructure fails, opportunity disappears. Addiction and despair become normal. Anyone who has lived there knows this isn't rhetoric. It's daily life. At the same time, we are told Indigenous spending goes up every year. The implication is always the same, that things must be getting better, or that anyone who questions the system is dishonest, ungrateful, or running a grift.
Or racist.
Or racist. I have seen neither improvement nor abundance. Have you? Where the money is going and why it never seems to reach the ground is a question for another day. What matters here is that more spending has not produced better outcomes, and pretending otherwise insults the intelligence of people living with the results. By comparison, the Alberta reserves I've visited are far better off by an order of magnitude. That is not praise and it is not an insult. It is simply fact. But that gap is not permanent. Under the same federal system, with the same incentives, and inside a Canadian economy that is visibly and rapidly deteriorating, it is only a matter of time before Alberta's reserves are dragged in the same direction. I am not offering answers. I am not telling anyone what should be chosen. What I am doing is laying out the paths that become visible in a sovereign Alberta. Paths that do not, and cannot exist under the current federal system, a system that shows no signs, none, of changing. If these paths are unacceptable, then that should be said openly. But pretending they aren't there is dishonest. Under a different jurisdiction, land does not have to remain trapped in federal trust. Ownership becomes negotiable. That could mean collective title held by nations and protected from sale. It could mean inheritable long-term use rights so families can build equity without losing the land base. It could mean nation-run land registries recognized by courts. It could mean opting out of trusteeship by choice instead of being locked into it forever. None of this is available today. The same is true of resources. Instead of begging for impact agreements and sitting through consultation theater, ownership and revenue sharing become matters of law. Equity becomes standard, not a concession. Royalties become predictable. Consent becomes real because it carries consequences. Resource wealth can then be used directly for housing, infrastructure, education, and treatment, without Ottawa deciding what qualifies and what doesn't. Jurisdiction over child welfare changes just as fundamentally. Control does not have to be partial or symbolic. Nations that choose it could fully design and run their own systems, their own standards, their own courts or tribunals, accountable to their own people. The focus can move from apprehension to prevention, from paperwork to families, from permanent removal to actual stability. That level of control does not exist under the current structure. With jurisdiction comes the possibility, finally, of ending the Indian Act. Not overnight, not recklessly, but within a generation, with transition periods, with choice, with treaty rights grandfathered either for everyone alive today and a generation after, or carried forward under a new Alberta Indigenous constitutional framework. Ottawa has never been willing to seriously allow this discussion because trusteeship is the foundation of its control. Self-government then stops meaning program delivery and starts meaning what it means everywhere else: authority over land use, authority over taxation on nation lands, authority over policing and civil law, governments dealing with governments, not departments managing clients. Something closer to tribal systems in the United States, imperfect, but materially different from what we live under now. Fiscal autonomy becomes possible as well. The ability to raise and keep certain taxes, the ability to borrow at fair rates, the ability to issue bonds, the ability to succeed or fail on our own terms instead of being permanently insulated from consequence by Ottawa, which treats dependence as stability. None of this has to happen all at once or all in the same way. Regions could negotiate together. Treaty 6, 7, and 8 could pool leverage, share institutions, and set minimum standards so smaller nations aren't isolated or picked off one by one. Individuals and communities could opt into new frameworks at different speeds instead of forcing everyone into one system forever. Representation would also have to be real, not advisory tables, not stakeholder status. actual constitutional recognition, and whatever replaces the current government structure. Guaranteed seats, consent requirements that cannot be bypassed. Clear limits on what a government can do without Indigenous agreement when it comes to its land, water, children, and resources. Alberta's resource wealth could be used to support transition, not dependency. Capital for housing, infrastructure, education, and treatment tied to ownership and outcomes, not endless program funding that disappears into bureaucracy. A defined transition with an endpoint, not permanent management. And yes, choosing none of this is also a choice. Keeping the current system, keeping Ottawa in control, keeping land in trust, keeping money flowing while outcomes worsen, keeping children in care, addiction normalized, keeping decline managed instead of confronted. That is not neutrality. That is an active decision. This is not a call to action. It is not a demand. It is not a declaration. It's too long to read online, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
It is a refusal to pretend that no alternatives exist. And if no one was elected to navigate this path, then no one has the right to quietly lock us into it either. This conversation belongs to the people, and it's long overdue.
Yeah, that's good. You know what? I like the part about the managed decline, right? I think that's key to this whole thing. I mean, we are in a managed decline, but it doesn't have to be that way. You know, we could have cheap energy. We could have, you know, more freedom. Like we could have a fairer, respectable, you know, everybody respected, everybody treated equally, all that kind of stuff. But without this managed decline and some wealth and prosperity, you know? Yeah, that was good.
It's a long read. I posted it in the wrong spot. There we go. All right. So
There's your link in the chats to the Substack. It's a great opportunity. This is a unique opportunity for Alberta to lead the West and show what a new nation can be like. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So that wraps up the free portions show.
Actually, can I quickly just finish this? I found the 66 organizations. So this is from Desiree Fixler. I sat in a room once and championed these globalist organizations, including the WEF. What honestly blew my mind sitting with these left-wing elites was their utter coldness. They repeated all the slogans about saving the planet, but showed complete disregard for people. And for learning. Good riddance. So this is about, this is a post from the White House. No more wasting taxpayer dollars on globalist agendas. The United States will leave. I mean, whether they do this or not, I mean, maybe this is all just propaganda, but the signal is the important part right now. They will leave 66 total, 33 non-UN, 31 UN organizations. So I'm going to just link to the White House itself. This is whitehouse.gov. Withdrawing from international organizations, conventions, and treaties that are contrary to the interest of the United States. So I'm going to skip through all the legalese stuff. So it talks about non-United. So these are all the non ones. You know, just to throw a few out there, like European Center of Excellence for Countering, Freedom Online Coalition, Global Forum on Cyber Expertise, Global Counterterrorism Forum, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change happens to be right there. You know, it's just all this, you know, managerial bullshit. International Cotton Advisory Committee, International Energy Forum, International blah, blah, Regional blah, blah, International blah, blah. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. UN Alliance of Civilizations, UN Democracy Fund, UN Energy, UN Water, UN Population Fund. So there's a lot of things happening real quick here. The Western Hemisphere is looking like they want out of the global system. And could you blame them? That's the point. Could you blame them? Could you blame Alberta for wanting to separate? They've been destroying it for the last 10, 15 years, 30 years.
Yep. Well, I do have a couple more clips that I should play before we get out of here. I had this one and then my active denial. So this one is when Quebec wanted to separate. So I assume these people are going to be yelling and screaming and calling Quebec rednecks or whatever. What do you think?
How about Canada cheers it on?
How about it bags it?
By contrast, many of you will remember that when Quebec was campaigning for its second referendum to exit Canada, the entire country found itself on its knees, begging the French-speaking province to stay. Messages like, "We love you and we appreciate you. Please don't leave us," were commonplace on the other side of the argument. For Albertans, no such luck. Insults, sabotage, and shame dominate the discourse of those who oppose Albertan self-determination. But Albertans are a tough people, and we like it that way. It makes the divorce that much easier.
I remember that shit.
Yeah, me too.
All right, this will be my last clip for the free half. This is my you know what I'm talking about when I say act of denial?
No, I'm not sure.
It's got to do with Venezuela.
Okay.
Maybe.
You can't see it, hear it, or smell it, but it makes unruly mobs do this. The Defense Department's active denial system, a non-lethal weapon that can be used to control crowds, secure perimeters, and keep pirates at bay. It could be a game changer.
This is one of the things that we can shoot first and ask questions later. Normally, you can't do that.
The military says the active denial system is not radioactive, it's not a microwave, and it's not a laser beam. It's instead a man-sized beam of millimeter waves that can be fired from up to 1,000 meters away that are designed to get the subject, whoever's standing on this X, really, really hot so that they move. And it's about 50 degrees out here right now, but I just felt like it was about 1,000. And I've never been inside a tub that somebody dropped a hairdryer in, but I would imagine that that's what it feels like.
Think you could light a fire like that?
After
I
about
don't know.
1.5
You might be able to
seconds,
put out a fire. Yeah, have you
1/64th
seen those sound cannons that put out fires?
Yeah, I'm not worried about the putting out fires, though. You know, that's never as much of a problem.
an inch of my skin was 130 degrees, but as soon as I stepped away, it was over. And the DoD says there aren't any lingering effects.
There's no cancer risk.
Do you believe that?
It might be healing. I mean, you might be healing your enemies.
This or reproductive capability. It's just heat.
But the DoD admits this system does have a drawback.
We are propagating through the air. We are, therefore, relatively line of sight. And so we need to be line of sight with targets.
A prototype costs $10 million, and there are no plans to deploy one anytime soon.
You've heard of the active denial system in the military. It's this dish that sends out a beam of frequency towards people that are looking to do harm. It'll make you stop in your tracks. It'll make you feel like you got to vomit. It'll make you feel like you're on fire. It can even put voices in your head. It's called the active denial system in the military. In the Emerald Tablets, Thoth has this group of people coming at him because they don't know who he is when he lands his ship. He says, I raised my staff and sent out a ray of vibration which stopped them still in their tracks. Sounds like the active denial system to me. Same technology, just a different year. What we're doing now, we're just simply rediscovering everything that already existed.
You can't.
Little Billy Carson sneak at the end.
Yeah, good one.
So, if you guys like the show, GrimericaOutlawed.ca is where you can support it. Sign up, make sure it keeps going, and you get twice as much. So check that out, GrimericaOutlawed.ca. Sign up today. Grimerica.ca for their podcast. Contact at thecabin.com for trips and events. Adultbrain.ca for audiobooks. AmericaCBD.com for gummies and tinctures. I guess if you want to get that Substack, it's CanadianShame.substack.com. That's it. You want to start us off in the second half?
Yeah, I was gonna look for. I'll just talk here as I look for my. I was gonna look for my my Latino vibes because that's where that was from. My title was from a clip that had something to do with your active denial. So we were both on the same wavelength there, but. It's good to show to see it in really right there instead of just a report about it. Because have you heard that guy going around talking about how